Batman has so many different variants out in the multiverse. Some of them are evil, some of them are good, but only a few of them can be considered the most powerful. Welcome back, Nerd Squad. I'm your host, Amanda McKnight, and this is Top 10 Nerd. If you want to talk nerdy with me some more, say hi to me over on Twitter at VampX13. But for now, let's geek out about the top 10 most powerful Batman variants. Let's go! Number 10, Earth 99. This Batman hails from the Arrowverse and is found by Kara, aka Supergirl, and Kate Kane, aka Batwoman, in his reality of Earth 99. The Arrowverse, Earth 99 anyways. He began killing off villains at one point after finally having enough, keeping trophies of them after they each had been finally defeated. This put the Bruce Wayne of this world at odds with Superman. The two fought, and while Batman managed to win, he was forced to rely on an exosuit after in order to move and get around. When Kate and Kara attempted to recruit him to face the Anti-Monitor during the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover event, he basically refused, telling them that the multiverse is basically not worth saving. He attempts to kill Kara after learning she is also a Kryptonian like Clark was, and is accidentally killed by Kate after his exosuit is broken during the scuffle, electrocuting him to death, because I'm pretty sure his exosuit was like right into his spine. I guess it's like an exoskeleton, if you will. Still, even though he died, this Batman successfully killed all of his enemies and managed to take out Supes too, so I feel like he still gets to qualify. Number 9, Dark Knight Returns. The Dark Knight Returns version of Batman, as written by Frank Miller, is pretty frightening and is also a little bit older. But just cause he's an older Batman forced to come out of retirement doesn't mean he can't hold his own against the likes of even someone as souped up when it comes to superpowers as Superman. While this Batman might not have any superpowers of his own to tackle his old pal Clark Kent, he proves that he doesn't really need them at all, and that one of the best and most capable versions of Batman out there can still even face godlike beings like Kal-El with just his wits, his determination, and his gadgets and equipment. And friends, before we move on to the next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more lists like it, head on over to Facebook to support us over there too, because the support over there helps to support us here and it helps us to just do all the things. Confetti. Number 8, the Bruce. The Bruce is a character that hails from the Elseworlds story Batman I Joker. Well, okay, it isn't like an Elseworlds comic, but it exists outside the continuity of any other main DC universes, so I'm just gonna refer to it as an Elseworlds. The Bruce is actually just a man who has had his appearance altered to resemble Batman. He rules over Gotham, and later his power is transferred to a citizen who is made to resemble the Joker and face the Bruce in a ritualistic annual event known as The Hunt. The Bruce is just a man in this universe and is defeated and replaced, but the power comes from the symbol that he represents. In this dystopian future, the people of Gotham worship whoever holds the title of the Bruce, like a god. There is even a church of Batman dedicated to his glory and his worship. While this isn't necessarily one of the hardest hitting alternatives out there, symbols are very powerful and can't be defeated as easily as a person, as we see in I Joker. Even when the person who represents the Bruce is defeated, he is simply replaced by the civilian that defeated him, who goes from playing the role of the Joker to being declared Gotham's new The Bruce, and worshipped as such. Number 7, Batman and Rookie. Well, usually when we talk about Batman variants, we are talking about other realities and other world stories. In this case, we're actually looking to the main continuity of Prime Earth in modern comics, instead of away from it. This variant of Batman, instead of hailing from another Earth, is simply a whole other person from the main continuity. We are talking about when Jim Gordon, police commissioner, took up the mantle of Batman. Yeah, that happened. Jim became Batman after Bruce's seeming death following the events of Endgame. A corporation known as Powers International came to Gordon and basically approached him about becoming the new Batman. Initially, he wasn't so sure, but eventually he decided to agree and give it a try. He was given surgical muscle implants and a very tight bat suit that made him look real svelte, and a robotic set of armor which could also operate independent of him, known as Rookie. Number 6, Vampire Batman. I think there are actually a few realities where Batman has been affiliated with vampires. I mean, kind of makes sense. Batman, vampire bats. It's kind of a no-brainer when it comes to superhero and monster mashups. This vampire Batman that we were talking about, though, is probably one of the most famous, hailing from the reality of Earth 43, which appears as the main reality of the story Batman and Dracula: Red Reign and its sequels. Here, Batman willingly becomes a vampire in order to better track down and defeat Dracula. While only part vampire at that time, eventually Batman in this reality would go full vamp after giving into his bloodlust and feeding on the Joker. Dun dun dun! Number 5, Ghostmaker. Ghostmaker for me was originally a character I came in ready to dislike when it was announced in the comics. But then I read more about him, and the more I read the character, the more I really found that I quite like him actually. In fact, he might actually be one of my favorite new characters. Even if Ghostmaker initially still sounds like a silly name, it still does kind of sound silly to me. It's growing on me, along with the man behind the mask, Ming-Hua Khan. Ghostmaker initially was presented as a challenger to Batman, someone who might even usurp him when it came to being the hero of Gotham. In the end, it was revealed that Ghostmaker and Batman actually had a pretty long history, with Bruce befriending young Ming-Hua when they were both traveling the world, training to become vigilantes. In a way, you could even see Ghostmaker as a better version of Batman. He's often not as attached as Bruce is to people or places, preferring to stay detached and possibly incapable of attachment due to him being a psychopath. In a way, this can make him either weaker or stronger than Batman, depending on your perspective of strength and how best to approach vigilantism. Number 4. Azrael. Azrael is another alternate Batman version or variant who hails from the same reality as Bruce Wayne. Azrael is Jean-Paul Valley, who is asked to take Bruce's place as Batman after his back was broken by Bane during the events of Nightfall. As Batman, Azrael was ruthless and much more violent, believing that to get Gotham in order, this was the way that things would have to be done. Eventually, Bruce returned with a healed back and ended up reclaiming the cape and cowl from Azrael, but at that point, Azrael was actually so powerful that Bruce initially struggled to reclaim his mantle. He would call on both Nightwing and Robin to assist him in recovering the Batman mantle, and eventually would be victorious in defeating Azrael, who honestly, I feel bad for, as both the gain and then the loss of the Batman title really messed Jean-Paul up. Number 3. Owlman. Owlman is an alternate version of Batman who is, well, pretty evil, but not a direct alternate. Instead of being Bruce Wayne, he is Thomas Wayne Jr., the older brother to Bruce in his reality. He hails from Earth 3, the same universe that belongs to the Crime Syndicate, which of course he's also a part of. The Crime Syndicate is basically like an alternate evil version of the Justice League, and of course Owlman is like their version of Batman. Thomas actually killed his Earth's Bruce Wayne after his younger brother was reluctant to join him and kind of taken out their parents, Thomas and Martha. Thomas Jr. believed that this was necessary as their parents were, in his opinion, squandering the family fortune. Thomas would take up the mantle of Owlman instead of Batman, and like his Prime Earth counterpart, is an extremely skilled individual and highly experienced fighter. Thomas also happens to be a genius as well, which often gives him an edge against his opponents. Number 2. Batman Who Laughs. As much as I want to give someone like Batman Who Laughs my top spot on this list, he's kinda dead right now. At least he was seemingly dead and defeated after the events of Death Metal. Still, Batman Who Laughs made for a powerful enemy and a powerful alternate. He is basically the combination of Joker and Batman in one entity. Hailing from the also now seemingly gone dark multiverse, Batman Who Laughs was once just Batman, aka Bruce Wayne, in his reality of Earth -22. All the negative Earths are the dark multiverse Earths. After Joker learns that he is sick and will soon die, he decides to push Batman as far as he possibly can, which prompts Batman to, of course, snap. Literally. He snaps Joker's neck. In Joker's spine, however, is a little bit of Joker venom, which ekes out with his final breath, or his final exhale if you would prefer. And this Joker venom is then inhaled by Batman, who is basically corrupted by it, and then we get Batman Who Laughs. Number 1. Bat-Mite. Weirdly enough, despite being completely ridiculous, Bat-Mite actually might be one of the most powerful alternate versions of Batman of all time. This mischievous imp from the 5th dimension is to Batman what Mr. Mxyzptlk is to Superman. The imp actually looks up to Batman, idolizing him, which is why he dresses like him and adopts a similar name to the hero. However, Bat-Mite, as Batman's #1 fan, can also be super annoying, often acting as a foil or outright enemy to the hero, as he often likes to manipulate the fabric of reality to create scenarios where he can kind of watch Batman do his thing. This means that he usually gets in the way of Batman's everyday heroics, so he causes a lot of problems for the hero, which of course tends to drive Bruce crazy. It's also been implied before that Bat-Mite isn't real, but only exists as a hallucination for Batman, representing his rational mind. I think that was actually a Grant Morrison story, so that is a possibility. But for the most part, he is depicted as an actual tangible character that just really loves Batman and is way too powerful. Who is your favorite Batman alternate? Which alternate version of Bats do you think is the most powerful? If you could see Batman merge with any other fictional character in comics or outside of them, who would you want to see him mashed up with? Let us know in the comments below. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host Amanda McKnight. Till next time, you stay nerdy, YouTube.